COVID-19 continues to affect this country and other countries and millions of people around the world. Over 10 million people have died. Many more are likely to die even in the future. And we don't know the effects of the vaccines. They were simply an experiment. There's something that we didn't know short, medium, or long-term effects to any great extent. Now, a few years ago, I brought a lawsuit on behalf of a company in Dallas, Texas called Buzz Photos. It was put out of business because of COVID-19. It's a class action lawsuit. And we attempted to serve the government of China and its Wuhan lab. The Wuhan lab that got the seeds of COVID-19, the SARS virus, from our laboratory in Fort Detrick, Maryland, with a grant of $2.8 million of the National Institute of Health, sanctioned by the Obama-Biden administration and also Dr. Anthony Fauci. Now, we've attempted to serve China on many occasions. We first tried to serve them through DHL, Federal Express. It was court sanctioned. We then finally served them through the State Department, through diplomatic channels. And what did Communist China do? They refused to accept service. They said, we're not liable for anything. We don't recognize the American legal system. We have sovereign immunity. Yet at the same time, they sent a letter to the US State Department, which was then forwarded to the Biden Gestapo of the Justice Department, who then sends the letter to the court to try to influence the judge. You'll hear more about this. This is going to be a national issue. It's a huge issue. I'm breaking it right now. But the fact is that for a foreign country, any foreign country, to say that we don't accept and we don't respect your legal system, even if it's communist China, that's unbelievable. Communist China could have accepted service on behalf of the Wuhan lab. And it is believed at this point in time that Wuhan lab, with a grant of $2.8 million, was doing gain-of-function research and trying to create a bioweapon. We do the same things in Fort Detrick, Maryland. Believe me, you remember right after 9/11, the anthrax that hit Washington, D.C. emanated from the lab at Detrick, Maryland, Fort Detrick, Maryland. We actually gave that strain to Saddam Hussein to use against the Iranians. George Bush, the dad, Donald Rumsfeld, and Dick Cheney did that. We don't have clean hands here in the United States, which is probably why it's never been definitively stated by our government that the Wuhan lab was responsible, and it wasn't just some issue of a market with bats in China. We all know better. And our National Security Agency, which surveils everything worldwide, certainly knows. They keep the communications. We do have translators that can tell. This has been a cover-up by both the United States and by Communist China. Both are culpable here, frankly, our government and China, the deep state, which obviously is not accountable to anyone, and Dr. Anthony Fauci in particular, who even lied about the fact that he sent the SARS virus over to the Wuhan lab to do gain-of-function research. This is an important case, but what's interesting is that this letter, and I'll show you just the front page of it, that was written by the Chinese government on the letterhead of its embassy in Washington, D.C., and it was then delivered to the judge in this case, was obviously intended to make a legal argument, while at the same time, Communist China would not accept service or process of the complaint. We will be dealing with this. We will get justice. They will be served one way or the other with alternative service. The case will proceed. And what we sued for were the huge damages that were caused by COVID-19, which fall at the hands of the Communist Chinese. And we may even interplead the American government at some point because they lied to the American people. So that's my message for today. It's why you need to support Freedom Watch. Go to freedomwatchusa.org. Who but Freedom Watch would do something like this? Who but Larry Klayman would stick his neck out? These people are not happy campers, believe me, in Communist China, nor in our intelligence agencies. But we cannot be afraid. We have to save this country. We don't get the truth from our government, much less the Communist Chinese government. And it is time that the American people are compensated for the death and destruction that was caused by COVID-19. And it's time that Dr. Anthony Fauci is held accountable as well. In fact, we did that We had him indicted by a citizen's grand jury, tried by a citizen's court, and then sentenced by a citizen's judge to life imprisonment for what he has done, not just with regard to the Wuhan lab in communist China, but lying under oath to the Congress of the United States. Go to freedomwatchusa.org, contribute to our cause with tax-deductible contributions. We need to get bigger, we need more lawyers, we need more office space. We need to really ramp up to save this country. Thank you for everything that you do. We appreciate it. We appreciate your support. And we ask you to now join with us. As Benjamin Franklin said, either we all hang together or separately we will hang. And that was before our first revolution. We're waging a second American revolution peacefully and legally in the courts and with our citizens' grand juries and citizens' trials. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. Remember, the Father and Son will only help us if we help ourselves. I'll be back tomorrow with another special podcast. Until then, thank you for listening to me.